Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. For those who don't know me, this is Alfred, and I think a few days back, 2 weeks ago, I did a video on skills I think are very hard to learn but are very useful. And one of the topics that I mentioned there, one of the critical skills I mentioned there was actually negotiation. And I said I'll do another video on negotiation skills as a topic itself because I think it's very important. And I came across this thread on Twitter by a gentleman I think called Meer or Steers or something like this, and he gave a quite a good summary of negotiation skills. And I thought I've picked up a few things from that and things that I'd love to share with you. So I just want to share with you 9 critical things that you should bear in mind when you're going in for a negotiation, and why negotiation is very important for you. There's 9 things that are very useful that will help you prepare for your next negotiation. And we must know that negotiation happens all over. I mean, whether it's your jobs or your business, and even at home as well, it's something that you come across all the time. So I think if you stick around till the end of this video as well, I recommend a few books that I think you should go and read on negotiation, and also a framework that you could use to prepare when you're going for actually a negotiation with someone or a company, or even for salary or whatever the case. So I hope you can stick around. Let's get started. The first thing that I think is very useful for any negotiation is actually just preparing. It's called, you really have to prepare. Research. If you're going for a salary negotiation, research what are the salary ranges, what exactly, what are you going to negotiate, what are the options that you need. And I think even options, you should probably have at least 4 to 6 options. For example, if you're going to negotiate on price and other things, could you have 5 or 6 options on how you want to maneuver or how you could package your deal, the best options that you require. So preparation obviously is very important, preparation and research. I think the second point is so important because it's something that we ignore, but actually it shows up a lot, your body language. And perhaps one thing that you don't know is body language actually accounts for a big percentage of what people see about you. Maybe 7% is words that you speak, 55% actually is your body language. And how you portray and how you turn up in meetings and how you portray yourself in meetings is very important. And there are certain things that you can be able to improve on when you're negotiating and improve your body language. Number 1, sitting up straight. Number 2, eye contact. The third one, when shaking someone's hand, good firm handshake. Those are 3 things that if you hammer when you're going for a meeting, I can assure you your body language will be tip-top. The third, I think, critical point that you should, or words that you should normally use on your negotiation, because remember you're dealing with another human being, and you want to portray that everyone actually should be satisfied with the outcome of negotiation. The critical word to use here is fair. And you can always use fair in your sentences, and you say it will be fair for you if you can have this and I can have this. I think the deal will only be fair if I can get 20% of the deal and you can get 40% of this. So the word fair kind of almost shows that both of you can are having a win-win situation, right? So it's something that if you can include in your language, it could be something useful. Let's move on to the 4th point. And I think, so the critical question is when you go for a negotiation or a salary negotiation or a business deal or whatever it is, who makes the first offer generally? Who really does makes the first offer? The old school advice, and from threads that I've read, is that generally you always want to wait for the other person to make an offer, then you offer a counter. But I think if you want to set the tone right, you should always make the first offer. It shows that you're prepared. You can dictate actually how you want to drive this negotiation. So if you're able to make the first offer, I think you can always drive the negotiation in the ways that you want, rather than allowing the other person to make the first move and actually now is kind of moving your strategy. So the 5th tip for your negotiation, I think, is how it's kind of tied to the point that I've just mentioned, is what's the rule of thumb in terms of let's say you have a price range. What's the rule of thumb in terms of trying to giving the offer? Should you go average in the middle, or what should be the range of your offer in terms of that you want to pull your negotiation? I think two tricks work here. The first one is that you could go very high. If, for example, you want to get a good deal, for example, you could go very high. Or if you're purchasing something, you go very low. And in essence, then that gives you room to maneuver in terms of getting a good price. The other tip that is quite useful is when you're asking questions is always ask open-ended questions. Don't be specific, because sometimes when you're specific, you tie yourself down. So I think of course, open-ended questions, you could be using the word what, how will this affect you, what do you think about this? So this kind of open-ended questions actually allows room for maneuvering. The other tip that I learned from Ben Steer is being kind of empathetic to the person that you're dealing with, but focus on the problem, or being hard on the problem. And this is just being factual, is that you're dealing with a human being, but at the same time you're focusing on a particular problem or a deal so how you're addressing the person should be in an empathetic manner or a soft manner. But I think in terms of the problem or the deal, you should be hard on the problem. Just have concrete facts, being able to show that you've done your research. So just always being able to separate the two, the emotional side, because you're dealing with a human being, and being soft, but at the same time being hard on the problem or being hard on the deal that you want to get. I love the next point, because at the end of the day, you want to work out with a deal. At the end of the day, both of you have come here with want to work out with something. And you should always set the tone that both of you need to work out with a win-win situation. Both of you need to find a solution. So always paint the fact that you stand to lose a lot with no deal, or you stand to have losses with no deal. So you kind of trying to prepare someone that you don't want to leave a room. Of course, you want to get a good deal, but you don't want to leave a room because you're prepared to get a good deal, and walking away will never be good for you. I don't know if I'm making sense until this point. I think the last one that I think is useful, I don't know if you know Oprah. Oprah always used to say that always end on a positive side. No matter what you're doing, no matter in life, always leave the room with a positive, or leave the negotiation with a positive energy, or whatever the case. And this also reminds me of a story where you want to, for example, even if you're criticizing your employee or whatever the case, always remember that at the end of it, whatever you've done, you always remember that you have to encourage someone, make the point, make that person when they're leaving, live on a high. Even if, for example, you're firing someone, yes, it's not a good thing, or you're not going to offer someone a job. I think it's always your last few sentences should always be on a positive side. So I said I was going to share with you a number of books that I think would be useful to you, to help you with your negotiation or whatever it is, and where I've picked up tips as well. I've picked up some of these books on Twitter as well. One of the book is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. The other book I think I can recommend to you as well is You Don't Get What You Deserve, You Get What You Negotiate by Chester Lewis. And then Great Courses, The Art of Negotiating the Best Deal. It's an Audible format by Seth Freeman. In fact, the next framework that I wanted to share with you is by a gentleman called Seth Freeman, Professor Seth Freeman, and it helps you prepare for a negotiation. Or the framework is actually called I Foresaw It framework, and it's a very simple framework. The I stands for interest. So what do you want here? What does the other side want? What are the common interests? Then the F stands for financial or factual research. What are the market prices? What do the experts say? Things like cultural norms, legal constraints. The O stands for options. So brainstorm particular possible deals that I think are deal terms. And I think critically he suggests that at least you should have 6 creative options. The R stands for rapport. So how can I be hard on the problem and soft on the person? How can I set the right tone for the start? Role play with your friends and family, who is going to play the bad cop or the good cop if you're going for such things. The other one is empathy or ethics. How do things look from the other side? How do they fit into their organization, challenges and all that? The S stands for setting and scheduling. Where will you negotiate? How important is the discretion? What, if any, deadline will you face? A stands for alternatives to agreements. So what will you do if there's no deal, right? And who? W stands for who, basically. So who can help? Whose agreement must I win? The I stands for independent criteria. So what are the objectives, benchmarks, and industry standards that you can apply? And T stands for topics, targets, or trade-offs. So topics list agenda items like salary, hours, vacation, targets for each topics. Write down your best targets and walk away targets, and trade-offs, things that you can trade off. So I hope you have learned something on this, and would love to hear your feedback. It's something that I picked up online, and I thought I would share with you as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to your comments and looking forward to the next video. Till then, cheers, bye.